The question that we're going to talk about now really is looking at all of the years of experience, lived experience that you have with being a child of an incarcerated parent, you know, tallying up everything that you learned and, really thinking about giving it back to those individuals that may be just starting the
Mhm.
process, those individuals that are now beginning to own their narrative, or, just thinking about what it means to live in their shoes. What specific advice would you have for children of incarcerated parents? And I mean, advice that can be as specific as possible. So, thinking about it generally, but really maybe thinking about, advice that you have for individuals that are similar to you or
Yeah.
would be walking down the same kind of path.
One piece of advice I would give to children of incarcerated parents is really to believe. Like, number one will be to have that relationship with your parent, right? Like, I know some people may not have the same relationship that me and my dad have. Like, I know that like our situation may be really unique, right? And then so just try to have that open communication with your parent if you can. And then two, from that, get a support system. Like, out going back to that, some pieces of advice: have a support system, even if it's one or two people who just like will ride for you for whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then three, really to be confident and to love yourself. Like, I think that a lot of people are afraid to go above and beyond because they're afraid of rejection, they're afraid of failure. But like, when you really love yourself, then you believe in yourself too. I think, at the same time. So that love and that belief system comes in hand in hand. So I think that is important for us to like love one another. I mean, love ourselves, because that could seem like so cliche. Like, I love myself. No, like, but I'm not saying that people don't love themselves, but just thinking in terms of like, I love myself enough to take a chance on myself. Like, and I think that's why I may be like resilient or successful, because I'm afraid to like physically fall. Now, if I fall down the stairs, I'm gonna be pissed off, but I'm not afraid to fail or to fall in that way. So I think like all of that is important, right? So to have that communication with your parent, and if it's not there, maybe, try. At least you could, try to reach out to them, or whatever the case is, whether they're home or whether they're just coming home. I mean, whether they're aware that whether they're just coming home, having a support system and to love and believe in yourself. Like, those would be three pieces of advice that I would give, to people like myself, especially who are in this situation. So
Right, which is great advice. And, as I've done the research, I've gotten questions from like interfaith perspectives. Is there any sort of advice from your, faith, being a Muslim woman that, has helped you navigate down this path? What advice would you have for, young Muslim children that are experiencing the incarceration of a parent? Because we know, Islamically, the children have rights over their parents, the parents have rights over their children. There's just so many different components that play into that. I'm wondering if you could speak on that.
okay. So number one, Islam has bonded me and my father, specifically because I wasn't raised in a Muslim household and born Muslim. I took my Shahada my freshman year of college, and my father was studying Islam at the same time, and we didn't know that we were both like reading books or whatever, about Islam. And then when I came in, I told him that I wanted to take my Shahada. Like, he was like really thrown off. He's like, "Really?" Because I've been reading books too. So we actually, I told him like, "Oh, over Thanksgiving break or whatever, while I'm off school, I'm going to take my Shahada. This is my freshman year of college." And he's like, "Okay, well," it was a Friday. He's like, I'm gonna do it too on that day. So and then, I mean, I had the same conversation with my mom. And my stepdad is Muslim, but like my mother had never, took a Shahada. I had the same conversation with her, and she decided to that the same day that I was going to take my Shahada, that she was going to take a Shahada. So on that day, it was November 27th in 2011. My parents and I all took our Shahada. So that alone has bonded us, like, it's Islamically. And I think that just the way that we handle each other, like, I would say, going back to that, like, me not wanting to rattle him up, and like me kind of like just trying to protect him, or him trying to protect me. I think we're really gentle with each other. And I don't think we would be that patient with each other if it was not for Islam and our belief system. I don't think so, because I'm like a little firecracker, and I think that I probably would have been, but I'm patient with him. Now there are times where like I said, my relationship with my dad is very different from my relationship with my mom. So if I'm around her and me and him are talking and it's like real friendly, she'll like, what you talk to your papa like that for? Like, and she'll think, like, she'll take it personal, like, you can't talk to him like that. And I'm like, but I do think from like an Islamic perspective, we just handle each other really on a gentle space. And being that like our communication, right, going back to that argument that me and him recently had a few months ago, I'm like, bro, give me 3 days, and then he called me and he's like, yo, don't ever go off on me like that again. I'm like, well, don't, and then it's over. We don't even talk about it no more because we're good then, right? So I just think that how we communicate and how we handle each other is definitely attributed to like us being Muslim, because I don't think that we would be this patient. And really, because there's so much of a reward in being patient with your parents, and you don't want to disrespect your parents because your parents have rights over you. And I believe that's a major sin, to be disrespecting parents, So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Those components that you share, and how beautiful was it for you to be able to communicate in that way with each of your parents, and for you all to kind of take the Shahada at the same time, which is absolutely phenomenal. That's great. I think, throughout the interviews for this national study, a lot of children have talked about their faith and how that's really helped them as it navigates, through the process. And I'm finding from an interfaith perspective, even including those individuals that have a spirituality and not necessarily a faith, that there is something there that helps to move them and shift the dialogue.
And I would say too that, like, going back to when I was talking about, success and with me attributing things to myself, like, whatever happens, right? Like, it's nothing that he could have prevented. It's nothing that I could have prevented. Like, Allah has written for all of these things to happen. It's for him to be there. Like, cause who knows how his life, at that time could have been, right? So just not questioning like of why he's there. Like, I mean, he's been there for so long. So maybe when I was younger, I probably questioned it. But as an adult now, and just also having a religious context, like, I don't, because I know it's for a reason. Like, what reason? It may be unclear, but like, I know that it's for a reason, and it's nothing that no one could have done to prevent him from being what he is right now.
Now, the other question that I have is related to like having a wali, and Islamically, how the father plays a substantial role. Both parents have roles and responsibilities, and specifically, I know as it relates to Islam, that it's a lifestyle. You could go to the Quran, you can go to Hadith, you can go to all of these different resources in order to build your knowledge. Do you think that that has helped you navigate through this terrain in terms of practicing a belief system that is a lifestyle?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I like going back to that, like how you handle. So me reading, me learning, because I mean, it's a constant. You learn new stuff about Islam and your faith every time you open a book, or every time you listen to a lecture, you can learn something new. So I definitely think that for me, learning, even though my dad is away, knowing the story of the Prophet Muhammad and his daughters, and how intimate and close that is, like, we don't have that, but I think that if he was present, it would be close, or something that would resemble, because just how close we are to one another, right? And I think I told you before, my sister and I, we didn't have a argument or anything, but I expressed to my dad like how she came in town and me and her didn't spend time together, and how his immediate defense is always to defend me. Like, he doesn't like for me to like feel any type of way. Whatever it is, like, he's gonna ride, in a sense, ride with what, like, how I feel. And it's not always good, but it's good to have that on my side, right? So I do think that learning things, or learning how, men should interact with their daughters in the correct way, or to protect them. Yes, he's not here, and I do have my stepdad, as that protector and things of that nature, and they can them two can communicate on, like, what is, in a sense, best or good, for me, especially in terms of, like, men, right? Because my dad can't, like, have contact with these, guys, how my stepdad could. But I definitely think that having the guideline of, this is Islam, this is our way of life, and we have literally the whole guideline of how we should live our lives, and in that is respecting my father, and having a level of respect for my father, and not talking to him in the way, and for him the way that he's supposed to treat me is at the same time, right? So it's all there, it's all laid out for us, and we don't really have to, like, make it up as we go along, because it's right there. And then two, I would say that we do have that, but then our relationship is so natural and so genuine that I think that even if it wasn't, like, so set in stone, that we would still be able to communicate with each other in a respectful manner. But Islam definitely plays a factor in how we communicate, like I said. And then to me, not questioning why he's there or why he's been. Now I might be like, Dad, okay, it's been 15 years. Okay, when is he coming home? Like, but, like, why? Right? Because Allah probably spared his life from, who knows what could have been different, if he wasn't locked up. Who knows?
Right. Now, being a Black female, where did you say that you were from?
From Newark, New Jersey.
Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of interviews in Newark, New Jersey, and, cities all across the world that look and have similar characteristics. Oftentimes we know that there is a statistic that there's 1 in 3 African American males that will spend time in prison. And, these statistics are the same when it comes to females and being in schools. What advice specifically would you have for Black female children of incarcerated parents specifically? And I mean, specifically being able to draw from your school experiences, your lived experience, being a school teacher and seeing how, Black girls are dealt with in the school system, and then having the layer of parental incarceration.
What I would definitely say that, and I think this is really clear, that the systems are not designed in our benefit. And for me, like, I've always been I don't want to say, like, afraid, but, like, kind of like, I got something to prove. Like, I'm not, like, I think I was telling you this before, like, when I enter certain spaces, I try not to even wear, like, I want you to see my hijab. Like, I try not to even wear a turban sometimes, because I want you to be able to see, like, my whole being, and say that, hey, when this girl walked in the door, we didn't expect for her to be Black and Muslim and this young, because that, when you have all of that, and then that my dad is, incarcerated, and then I have teenage parents. I had teenage parents. It's like, well, how she's able to do all that? How she's able to walk in here with all of this confidence? I think that is really important for Black girls, and for Black children, to find some sense of going back to loving yourself, because there are going to be people who are going to tell you things, who are going to treat you a certain way for you not to be able to love yourself. And then that is going to lower your self-esteem, and then you're not going to be able to go and really to probably achieve those things that you want to, in a sense of, like, I'm afraid to do this because of how someone has made me feel. And for Muslim children, I think the odds are, for Black Muslim children, the odds are, for girls too, are so stacked against us, especially when you wear hijab. So some girls may be, they don't want to wear hijab because of, like, what people say about maybe Muslim women, like, oh, that we're oppressed, and, like, maybe, like, why are you wearing a khimar? Are you hot? So girls, little girls, young girls, there was so much stuff, and they don't have that confidence, or their parents probably aren't teaching them, like, Islam, and where they're, like, in a sense of they're able to defend Islam, in a sense of, like, why I wear hijab, and, like, no, this is not oppressive, this is actually a crown, right? And I embrace all of that. So I think that we have so many things stacked against us, but at the same time, I think for me, it's important for me to walk in the way that I look, and to like do my thing in the way that I do it, to show Black children, to show Muslim children that like, hey, even though like the systems are designed for me to fail, I can be what Miss Johnson is, or even more. And I tell kids, listen, I am just like here, okay? Like, and I don't even tell kids a lot of times that I wrote a book, because I want them to, they'll figure it out on their own, right? Because they just see me as a teacher. They just see a teachers as like, whatever. Sometimes some kids you think you rich, some kids think you like, you ain't nothing. But I want you to be able to reach higher levels than I am. So, and sometimes, you know, teachers don't even get the correct recognition that we deserve by educating the youth in the future. But I want our kids to be able to see me and see my whole self as when I walk into any space, and say, you know, I can be better than that. I can be that, or I can be better than that. And I'm going to encourage you to be better than me, like whatever it is that you know, would want to do. So for Black children, love yourself. And, you know, and for Muslim girls especially, your hijab is your crown, and we're, you know, proudly, and carry Islam wherever you really go. Because, you know, I think sometimes too, with the perceptions that we have in the world, we're not educating our Muslim children on like basic Islamic things. So they're not able to go out in the world and teach Islam and give dawah to people. Like, they're not able to. And we just give them a hijab, and you're Muslim, and like, you know, that's it. Sometimes, you know, a lot of parents aren't leading them, but when we teach our children and equip our children with the certain tools that they need Islamically, they're able to go out and spread a different message of Islam that people will never have seen if they didn't run into children, or run into someone like me, or run into someone like you, when you can have a conversation and correct people about, no, this is right in Islam and this is wrong. If we have to, our parents, especially whether you're incarcerated or not, I think me and my dad have this relationship. And when we talk about certain things that we both read, we're able to have that dialogue of like, oh, maybe we didn't know this about, you know, being Muslim. And then that connects us, so that he can have conversations with people or my siblings about the correct things to do Islamically. And then the knowledge that we're sharing, the dialogue that we're sharing with each other, I can go out and share that with, you know, other people, if I'm having these conversations about Islam. Like, we got to equip our children, and just in general with, because the schools aren't going to do everything, right? And then we can't have the media to do everything. We, as the parents, you know, and as the community, we have to equip our children with these tools for them to be successful, whatever that may look like, right? Because we talked about, it's going to look different for everyone, but it's important for us to give our kids the tools and instilling that in them. And that confidence and that love is the first step for me.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So what was your dad's reaction when you went to visit him, or he saw you like for the first time in hijab?
I think that, so when I first took Shahada, I was like, I swore I was not going to wear hijab. It was just not going to happen. I was like, I am not covering. It was so far gone. It just wasn't even going to happen. So I think I had told him like that Ramadan, you know, that first Ramadan after I took Shahada, that I'm just covering, you know, da-da-da. And I can't remember his first initial reaction, but I think he saw me in a picture at first, and then literally like after that, like he will always ask me like, "Oh, you outside, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Got a keymark on, and I'm like, "Yeah." You know, like, and he did that for years. Like, sometimes he still does that. Sometimes he'll still like, and if he call, like, you know, if he calls and I'm like, he's like, "You're doing? What you doing?" And he always asks me if I have hijab on all the time. And it's 9 years later, and he still asks me. I don't know why, but I think that like he probably thinks sometimes too, maybe the way that I'm into fashion, and like maybe I'll go out because I like try to dress a certain way, that I'm gonna take hijab off because I'm into fashion. But I think he also is surprised sometimes when he sees me covered and then I'm like still swaggy with my hijab on, right? So I think a lot of times like he loves that. And I think that just ultimately like I think he's really proud that I wear hijab, like that I don't expose myself in a certain manner, right? Because prior to him being locked up, like I said, none of us were Muslim. So he would have never imagined that I would be, you know, some dads really like look forward to like, oh, my daughter's going to cover, she's gonna, you know, wear a keymark. Some dads like can't wait for their kids to be of age to, you know, have that like moment because of the significance of it. But we would have never imagined that I was going to cover. Like, prior to him being locked up. So I think now it's just like he's always checking. And I mean, like, I don't care because I'm always wearing hijab.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's definitely all the time still. I'm
Wow.
gonna tell him that when he calls.
Wow, that's definitely a beautiful story, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. I get a lot of questions to my DMs and everything from Muslim children that experience parental incarceration, and they just never feel like they see anyone,
Yeah.
in those shoes. That is just something that's not talked about at the masjid, and
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say people because people don't talk about it. And I think it's difficult for us to like how do we open the door and say like I think for me, I always like share the story when I hear parents, really when I hear parents tell me, "Oh, his father's locked up," or how. That's when I immediately because I think a lot of times like I don't say it all the time, but in my office at work, I have like a lineup of pictures, and I have a picture of me and my dad, and he's obviously in his, jail, his prison uniform. Um, and in that moment, kids are like, they probably won't really say much, but it's like, that's your dad, and I'm like, yep, that's my dad. And then it could be really like that, but then when I hear that from parents, um, when they put that on them, on the kids, like this is hindering them because their father's locked up, or like then that's when I was like, no, like not that I'm dismissing it, but like, hey, let's not put this on your kid. Like I understand, I was this age when my father went away, but let's try not to put that as another crutch on them, So that I feel like a lot of times that's when I start sharing my stories with parents and families when that moment happens for me. I will say that.
yeah, which is
I
good.
haven't had to walk in the room and like be like, yeah, my father locked up yet, but I think I don't know how to do that
Wow,
either.
which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind talking about it. I don't ever mind talking about it, but I don't know how to just be like, hey, you know.
Yeah, you have like a reason for it. And when you hear
Mhm.
it, it's like, wait, no, look at
Mhm.
I'm successful. I'm the teacher in here. Like I'm leading this classroom and so that's not something extra that needs to be put on. So it's like you
Yeah.
use it to help individuals not be buried or placed in these boxes that you just don't know all the time. And
Yeah.
when you have those examples, it's helpful. But it's interesting to hear you say that you don't know how to kind of like just go in the room and just say, which means that no matter how you tell your narrative,
Mhm.
it takes practice in
Yeah.
whichever realm or area that it is that you're imparting it. But I definitely want to thank you for that. And I'm hoping that it brings visibility to the reality that so many people are affected from so many different walks of life. And
Yeah.
everybody has kind of like this unique story. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you.